Hello folks, it's been some time since I've actually come to this part here. I'm approaching the Great Bend in the Bannockburn, and the piece of film that I just took for you gave you an overskirt. Now I'm very self-conscious that there are 3 bulls in this field. I can see them, but if I seem to look away from the camera lens, I'm just watching my back, okay? This is the area of the Great Bend. I've been here many times, and each experience is brand spanking new. It's a fabulous experience because it's a fabulous stretch of the Bannockburn. It's extremely formidable here. Has a very strong current. It can be very wide, and with the recent rains that we had, it would have been much higher and faster flowing than it is now. During the rout, once the Scots had broken through the English lines, once the cavalry had been killed and dispersed, and the infantry behind English cavalry broke and it turned into a rout, many of them came this way. Some went beyond the knoll and drowned, and the Pell Stream itself was a formidable burn back then, nothing like what it is now. Prior to it being culverted, the Pell Stream was a very significant, powerful waterway, on a par in some areas with the Bannockburn. So people possibly got to the river ford where they drowned or were killed there, definitely got to the Pell Stream where they would have floundered in the water there and been killed, but most definitely here, the great rout at the Bannockburn. This is what the battle is named after, this stretch of water here that is behind me. Now, as you follow the Bannockburn, as you look over that area, you would follow it round just towards where the bulls are lying down up there, and then you would follow the course there right in front of the Oak Hill Hills, and it goes under the motorway and further on. But James Douglas, his mission was to close off the Bannockburn. Now, from the Bannockburn, the Great Bend in the burn, to the Pell Stream across the other side is approximately 830 yards. And when I say approximately, it's quite precise, give or take a yard or two. Because the Pell Stream is so changed back then, it's very difficult to get a good picture of what it would have been like. But as ideal as what you see before you was a camp for the English army, it was also a death trap being hemmed in here between these 2 burns, the Bannockburn and the Pell Stream. So once Douglas on the right wing of the Scots here had effectively closed off the Bannockburn, what you see in front of you, that group of trees, is the knoll. Most of these trees at that time would have been cut down, but that's where King Edward and his commanders oversaw the whole army. If you can see those bulls in front of you, there's a hedge just behind where they're lying down. That's where the Scots lines were able to march up to. It's said that they knelt and prayed. That's what the English thought. They knelt and prayed over that way. But what they were doing were they were kneeling down and digging their butts off their pikes into the ground. They since realised with the English confusion and the delay with their confusion, they could gain more ground. Douglas is said to have ran up to that point, gained more ground, sealed it off, because the more ground the Scots were able to capture, the less momentum the English cavalry charge would have, and the less ground that the English army could use to their advantage. But it's a phenomenal place here. It never fails to excite me and give me a strong sense of place. Where you see that pylon over there, just beyond there and forward from it, was Robert Bruce and Edward Bruce in the middle, their division. There's no mention of Edward Bruce on the second day of the battle. Either he was wounded, but if he did take part, he would have been beside his brother. And Randolph, Earl of Moray, was over the far side doing Douglas's job as he did in the right wing. His job was to cut off that left wing and seal any escape routes off between there and the Pell Stream. But what lies before you is the Bannockburn. Now, this is January, so the grass is short. But it would have looked much like this. It was a very wet summer back then, so the grass would have been much longer, but very unlike the fields that have sheep in them beyond there, where the grass is chewed down to a nice tiny Bowling Green type effect. Much of it would have looked wilder and like this. But this is where the Battle of Bannockburn took place on day 2. This was the greatest Scottish military triumph of its time and in any time, where, unpredicted and unforeseen by the Englishmen, who had their elite army, the Scots, came out of Balquiderick Wood, which is up there in the distance, the other side of the railway. It takes about a 4 or 5 minute walk to come down, cross where the railway is now. The woods came all the way down there. There were no houses. To seal off the carse, to engage them over there, win the day, and pull off one of the greatest military upsets of all time, simply because Robert the Bruce had planned this. He was a genius, he was a brilliant strategist and military tactician, and it went so according to plan that it was talked about for years after. In fact, the English chronicles lament at how that day went. Go and look, visit the ground, read all the sources. Bannockburn, 1314.